Welcome to the Damascus Encounter, the program where we share with you every now and again some beautiful experiences of individuals who actually encountered Jesus. We read the Bible, and many times we get fascinated by the stories we read because Saul met Jesus and Jesus spoke with him. But today, Jesus is still speaking. And on the program Damascus Encounter today, I have someone with me in the studio by name Dr. Seun Ebiesuwa, who will be sharing his story of how he encountered Jesus and the big revelation that Jesus had for him. Welcome, Dr. Seun Ebiesuwa.
Thank you, sir. It's a pleasure.
It's good to meet you and have you on the show.
Thank you.
And do you mind telling us just a little bit about your background growing up years?
Yeah, my background growing up here is I was born and bred in the Sunday church. So I was in the Sunday church till I came to Babcock University in 2012.
Okay, so just a little bit about your background education-wise.
Okay. Yeah, I had my first degree in Lagos State University, where I studied computer engineering.
Okay.
And then I came to Babcock 2012 for my master's.
And today you are a lecturer in the Department of Computer Science here at Babcock University.
Yes, yeah.
So let's talk about you coming to have a taste of what your first knowledge and experience with Adventism. When did you first know about Seventh-day Adventists?
Yeah, I would say I first heard about the church while I was growing up. On TV, there used to be a Seventh-day Adventist preacher who used to feature on TV those years. So my mom used to listen, though we're in the Sunday church, but she used to enjoy listening to the sermons. So, and anytime that preacher was shown, I was very small, little then, so I won't remember whoever the preacher was. But it's a Nigerian, and anytime he was shown on TV, my mom was always listening. She used to say she likes the way they explained the biblical doctrines and scriptures. Okay. So that was all I knew about
never
the church.
got to sit down, listen, and watch those?
No. I really, she used to. So it was when I was coming to Babcock 2012, then it just occurred to me, this is probably the Seventh-day Adventist church my mom used to watch, but she also was in Sunday church. Wow. She just watches it like a program on TV.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you got to know about Adventism first off on the television, preacher talking, but you never really paid attention.
No, never really paid attention.
So then you came to Babcock University, so tell me what changed.
Yes, I came to Babcock, like I said, in 2012 for my master's, and then because I will only go home at the end of the semester. So, and because coming from home, I go to church every Sunday. So it became imperative for me to also attend church here. And I wasn't in the habit of going to town or going out. So because of that, I used to prefer to worship in school. So then I started attending Heirs of the Kingdom Chapel, where I still worship now. So that was my first encounter going to church here. And then worship was on Saturday.
Yeah.
And because that was the day of worship here, I had no choice than to also go on Saturday.
Okay, so let me ask, that initial experience, you step into a church on Saturday, you see people doing things, what was it like for you?
Yes, it was unusual, considering my background. Like I said, we're used to Sunday worship. And so then in our church, they talk about Sunday school. So here we come out, we hear Sabbath school.
Yeah.
So, it was the first time I was seeing that congregation of people on Saturdays, for worship. But also because I had a liberal view to religion was why I had no problem going to worship. I believe it was still God they were calling on. But I still had my conviction and faith in my Sunday worship because, like I said, that's all I'd known growing up. Okay. So I was just trying to ensure, I go to worship once a week or the Saturday. Once in a while, I used to later go for midweek services. But I was doing that, like I said, because I was in school. But when I go home on holidays, then I go back to Sunday church.
Okay.
So that was what I was doing.
All right. Interesting. So because you came to church, you saw them do their thing. So did you at any time ask yourself, why are they like this? Why do they worship on Saturday?
Yes. I had such questions within. Why there was even so much emphasis on the Sabbath, because when we come to church, it's a Sabbath school, so it's always emphasized like the Sabbath is Saturday and should be the day of worship. But like I said, from the background I came, we were taught to observe Sunday as a day of worship. So that was a question I had and wondered why people will always have to come to worship on Saturdays and not Sunday.
Okay.
Yeah, but at that time I wasn't really keen or interested in finding out why. So like I said, I will come worship and then I will go home. But
and you never asked anybody any questions?
Yeah, I did. I asked questions. I had friends also who were Seventh-day Adventists. I had classmates who were Seventh-day. I asked them. They would always explain, from the creation story, the seventh day was a day of rest, and that was Sabbath, that's Saturday. But like I said, the issue here is you were brought up in a particular setting.
Yeah.
And you had been told certain things over and over and over and over again. Yes. So it just sticks spirit like that. And this is a circle where maybe all your siblings, your parents, your extended family, everybody attended. Like I think I always say I'm the first Seventh-day Adventist in my whole lineage. Okay. So every other person from my family, maternal and paternal, are Christians, but Sunday Christians. So it was, these beliefs were well entrenched that Sunday was the proper day of worship. So in fact, in the Sunday church, seeing somebody worship on Saturday is like unusual. It's like, it's off, so to say. So, but like I said, I was here to study and I just go to worship. So that was it. But I had questions within me.
Inside of you.
Inside, a lot of questions. But I wondered, for example, why was it, like in the Sunday church, they would tell us, in the 10 commandments, the fourth commandment to say, keep the Sabbath day holy. So some of the times, those questions even came up while we're in Sunday church. Why is it this Sabbath day should be kept holy? And then they would tell us, and in the Bible also, there are a lot of instances where people talked about the Sabbath. There was the case where Jesus on a particular day had to do a miracle. And then they were asking him, that's the Sabbath day. And then he said, Sabbath is made for man, not man for the Sabbath. So these were the kind of scriptures that were used to always let us know that the Sabbath could be any day. So
any day you choose
is your Sabbath. That was what we were told in the Sunday church. So that justified why Sunday could be also a Sabbath day. And so what we do in the Sunday church is on Sunday, then you don't work and you don't do anything, just the way Saturday was.
As long as you rest, you kept the Sabbath.
Yes.
Okay, so and now basically as time went by, so folks came around, people started giving those invitations, tracts, and you want to share a little bit about that?
Yes. So my very early years in Babcock, 2012, the year I came, I met Mrs. Egbuta, Dr. Mrs. Olive Egbuta, and she was like a mother to me. A number of times I know she gave me such materials, to study and find out some of these things myself. And like I said, I had a lot. I had the LNG White writings, the Three Angels message, I had a number of them. But I wasn't convinced on why I needed to study them.
Okay.
Also because I still had my belief.
Yeah, so you just received?
I received them and
probably
kept them.
Looked at them or just
yes,
put them
kept them. And so on some occasions I looked at them cursorily.
Okay.
Cursorily, but not with any keen interest on wanting to dig, because I felt actually we knew. That's what I'm saying. I felt we in the Sunday church were right and we had our doctrines in place. So I didn't bother, so that was it.
So did anyone at any point ask you the question, you should be Seventh-day Adventist? Or
Yes,
have you read those scriptures or
yes,
texts that I give?
yes. There were lots of that, and on some of those occasions, like I would be truthful that I had not read them, and Ms. Iguta will actually challenge me. So sometimes I would actually go back to read some of them actually.
And then after reading, you still were not even.
After reading, I wasn't still
one of those things.
Yes, I wasn't still going to change what I'd known over time. And you see, the thing also with religion and Christianity, faith especially, it takes God through the Holy Spirit to convince anybody.
Absolutely.
Or to change anybody.
Yeah.
If there's anything people will hold on to, is the belief they've had over time. It's very difficult to change that. So part of the reasons why I didn't want, though I'm an avid reader, part of the reason why I didn't want to really delve into studying those materials was I didn't want anything that would start conflicting with the belief and faith I had over time. Yes. So I just wanted to leave it intact the way I had known it, and that was why I wasn't so interested in studying those things.
Okay. So, and then as time went by, you kept internalizing so many things, and
yes. Also, remember, I was going to church every week. I was going every Saturday. At some point, I started going every Wednesday too.
But did you participate in worship?
I was for the better time, I was a floor member.
Okay.
But I go to church and then I leave after service.
Worship.
Yes, sit down throughout the worship, listen and enjoy the service and go home. Then on Wednesday again, I'll come for a midweek prayer. And then
did you start getting impressed?
Yes, I must commend that I like the services. I like the service, the way the service was always administered. I enjoyed. And also growing up, my family especially were more of an Anglican family. So the worship patterns weren't too different. So we're used to the hymns and things like that. And so in terms of the way the worship went, I was fine with it, which is why I could always come
back.
Yes, but the only bone of contention was being able to internalize this Saturday thing as the day of worship.
Was a big issue.
Was a big issue. But every other thing was fine.
And it remained a big issue until Dr. Seun actually had an encounter that he will be sharing with us very shortly when we get back. The Damascus Encounter is the program, and our guest on the show today is Dr. Seun Ebiesuwa, lecturer, Computer Science Department, Babcock University. He was sharing with us how he encountered Seventh-day Adventism, how he started coming to church, and was just coming with worship, Sabbath after Sabbath, but then something happened. So, Dr. Ebiesuwa,
yes,
you want to share a little bit about this turnaround, what actually happened?
Yes, so like I said, I was always coming every week to church. Now in 2014, to be precise, there was a spiritual emphasis week.
Week of prayer.
Week of prayer, and Pastor Dave Oyekwere was invited to come minister, and I attended at the stadium throughout the program. Then the last day of the program, I remember he asked every one of us that attended, like when we get back, we should pray, particularly for those that really, wanted an encounter with Christ. We should pray that night that Jesus should reveal himself to us, that Christ should actually reveal himself to us, or that whatever we had even known about him, we should ask that we want to know him more.
Okay.
He requested that before we sleep, everybody should actually say that prayer that day. So when I got back to the hall where I was staying that night, at the point where I wanted to go to bed, I now prayed. Like I said, I participated throughout the program at the stadium, and I learned a lot. And during that week also, I was beginning to have some new revelations.
Okay.
Because he was beginning to discuss certain concepts and doctrinal issues came up during that week. Some of the things I had known in the Sunday church he actually discussed during that week. And at that point, I was having some doubts on my own beliefs, probably because of the approach he used and how he was able to substantiate those things. So a lot of things we had known about the bottomless pit, about the mark of the beast, the way it was written in the Sunday church. Now he had explained it in a different way. And now I was having some doubts on what I thought I knew. So during that week, I had already made up my mind to go and now study all these materials Dr. Olive had given me. I had decided probably at the end of that week, I would consult them.
Start looking at them.
Yes, to look at them and really be sure. But when he said we should say that prayer that night, when I go back to the hall, I said the prayer. And when I slept, then I had this very strange dream that particular night. And in that dream, I saw myself in the midst of a large society of people that I'd been used to over time, more like probably people one had known for long, people I was familiar with.
Yeah.
And then this supernatural being came, like in white, and pulled me out from this place of comfort and where I was used to, and took me out from there. I was not willing to leave. And then the being took me away from there and took me later to another smaller set of people. Now, this smaller set of people, the spiritual being was telling me this is where I should belong to, this is where I should be. But I wasn't used to them, and they were not as many as the larger.
Where you used to be.
Yes. So, and then he left me there and said, this is the right place to be, that where I was wrong. And then I just woke up from the dream and I was sweating very profusely. So
pardon me to button. He actually, you had those words. It was vivid.
Yes, I thought it was real.
Okay.
I didn't know it was a dream. It was so vivid. Like I thought it was actually real until I woke up. So when I woke up, I was sweating and then I was in a lot of fear. Now, because it coincided with the same night, the pastor had said we should say that prayer.
Yeah.
For Jesus to reveal himself to us. And also, like I said, during that week, I was already having a lot of doubts now on the Sunday beliefs I thought I knew and held on to. And I planned after the week I was going to start studying. So now looking at the dream, I didn't have the gift of interpretation of dreams, but I was conjecturing in my mind, what could this dream mean? But it was very symbolic because it was the same night the pastor had said we should pray and Jesus would reveal himself to us. So, and then at that point, I was just thinking in my mind, could this dream could it mean I was actually wrong all along to have been in the Sunday church? And probably that supernatural being was trying to tell me I should be.
This is the way.
This is the right way. Probably I should have been a Saturday worship. I should have been a Sabbatarian. What could this dream mean? So like I said, I woke up and with a lot of fear, I had to take those materials, and that was when I started studying.
Okay, before we get into that deeply, sometimes, you're a man of science. Sometimes we have dreams, and people get to tell you, look, you had those dreams simply because of probably what you were thinking about before you went to bed and stuff like that. So at any time, did it cross your mind, no, maybe this is just one thing has nothing to do with the other. This is just...
Yes, you are very correct about that. But in this case, what I saw and the experience I had was too overwhelming.
Compelling. To
be dismissed as just maybe from my thoughts, no. That this was a very, very...
You knew this is it.
Yes. In fact, like I said, when I thought it was real. I thought that it was real. So when I woke up in fear, because I was struggling to understand what had happened. And like I said, all I could just think about is, could this be related to this struggle I've had for long? Like I said, I liked the Saturday worship. I understood what was preached. I liked it, but the major big issue was changing from what I had known over time to this. I wasn't interested in doing that. And this is what I struggled with all through till that week of prayer. And during that week, when the pastor kept, explaining certain things, I was having that conviction within me about the materials Dr. Olive had given me and had kept. And I had now decided I was going to go and study them after that week. But I would have still done that. But the night when the program was ending, when I now said that prayer, according to what the pastor said, and I had that experience, then I woke up and I was in fear. And the experience I had was a very vivid one.
More than a coincidence.
It wasn't a coincidence. Yeah. It wasn't a figment of imagination. It wasn't my thoughts. It was very clear. And all I could relate it to was what I just said. And that was the beginning of my intention to now dig to know the truth.
Okay. So before we come to you taking the big step, you are a science person. You talked about the fact that a scientist does not like to get to a point where he feels he didn't know anything.
Yes.
That idea, I just wanted you to...
Yes. In science, a scientist is someone who would run a lot of tests and then come to a conclusion, having tested and validated over time. So a scientist is always known for seeking for knowledge and also ascertaining facts. And no scientist wants to later find out he was ignorant while he thought he knew. And that was what actually was the case in this scenario. I'd grown up in the Sunday faith. We had been taught all these things over time. We had held on to them. But at this point in my life, where these revelations were coming up, these things were, I was on the verge of now discovering that probably all we had believed was just a sham and were just wrong. And then for me, I found that most embarrassing to have just followed all these things all this while and followed what the pastors told us, only to now begin to, but really by the time I started studying myself, I started seeing all these things, and they were established clearly. And
in scriptures?
In scriptures, yes. And I even did further studies on my own, even outside of the materials I had. I went online and discovered a lot of facts, particularly like about the Sunday worship. I was able to study and find how that came into being. It wasn't originally like that. Emperor Constantine changed the worship day to Sunday. So that was the day of the worship of a sun god. So finding out all of these things now made me see how ignorant I had been with the doctrines I thought I held on to.
But then you found out and you decided, after studying,
yes,
you decided, I want to get...
Yes, it was, the period of study was almost 2 months. Yes, I was studying, but like I said, the experience I had in that dream was putting a constant fear in me, because when I started studying, I could see a lot of what we held on to was wrong. So contrary to me thinking the Adventists were wrong, I could now see it was actually us that were wrong.
I had it twisted.
Yes, and I had these things all twisted by the way they had explained these things. And so I kept studying, and while I was studying, I was praying also, for the Holy Spirit to help me understand these things better. So this took about a 2-month period. And by the time I had sufficiently exhausted all the materials, I had come to the realization that the right step to take was to get baptized. And so when I finished, I actually requested baptism myself.
And it was a very interesting one.
Yes.
So
yes.
Briefly, since we are running out of time for this part of the program, how did it feel when you now eventually told your folks, your mom?
Yes, for my, like I said, when I came here, I was an adult already. I was over 20. And probably also because of my own family. My family, my parents, then my dad was late already, but my parents, even while my dad was alive, would not force you if you are convinced on something.
Okay.
Yeah, but what they want to know and what they want to test is how convinced are you, and then to be sure that the decision you are making or taking won't be a regrettable one. So for my mom, she didn't have a problem. If I had baptized before I told anybody, Because yes, I was, like I said, I was an adult and I didn't owe anybody an explanation. So I baptized and I told her, but she didn't have a problem.
And your siblings, everybody was happy?
Yeah, it didn't matter.
Okay.
Yeah, it didn't matter. It wasn't a problem. And, I also told you my mom used to like the Seventh-day Adventist message.
The pastor and the message.
Yes, so she didn't have a problem. But all they wanted to just know was that I was convinced, and I told them I was. And even after then, I was able to also ask them questions.
Okay.
My mom, my brothers, my uncles, I've also been able to put those questions to them. And I've been able to also show them that some of these things we are held on to are not right.
So, just to wrap it up for this time, if you were asked to, in one sentence, put your experience together becoming Seventh-day Adventist so far, what would you say?
Yeah, I would say it has been a life changer. It has been a life changer. At that point where I got converted has marked a turning point in my life. Ever since I got baptized and understood these things, I've been able to now be bold enough to profess my beliefs. Yeah, in the same church where I used to be a floor member, today I'm an associate pastor in that church, and I've been for a number of years. I'm bold and happy now to share these beliefs because I understand them now. And then I can actually see that this is the truth. The Bible says that when you know the truth shall set you free. So I've totally emancipated from the shackles I found myself from the beliefs I grew up from.
Jesus is the life changer, and he did change things and turn it around for Dr. Seun Ebiesuwa, who, having encountered him, actually had Jesus speak to him, "You don't belong here, come to this side of the divide," and things never remain the same again. Today, he is an associate pastor in the worship center where he worships every Sabbath, and also a lecturer. Very interesting story, you agree with me, and before too long, we shall continue the same and the other part of his story as we continue on Damascus Encounter. For now, we want to thank you for being a part of the show today. And I want to say, remain blessed and stay tuned.